U.S. lawmaker questions Adidas, Nike over forced labor in China. China silently frees COVID whistleblower Fang. Expert, it is not easy for China's regime to invade Taiwan. I want 1.5 million and girlfriend. Chinese man blasts out wishes to Big Buddha with loudspeaker.
U.S. House lawmakers are asking for information from Adidas, Nike, and two Chinese-owned retailers, Temu and Shein, whether these companies are using products derived from forced labor in China. Representative Mike Gallagher, chair of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, and ranking member Raja Krishnamurthy, sent letters to the company's leaders on Tuesday, May 2nd. In their letter, the lawmakers say they are finding information to see if these companies follow the law. The companies have to respond to a range of questions from the lawmakers, including material sources and their steps to oversee their supply chains. Using products from forced labor would violate the 2021 Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, or UFLPA. The U.S. has condemned the Chinese government for its widespread human rights abuses against the Muslim Uyghurs as part of Beijing's campaign of genocide. Beijing has been accused of using forced labor in the Xinjiang region, forcing Uyghurs to work against their will. In response, Congress passed the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act in 2021 with bipartisan support, as the State Department determined that the Chinese regime is committing genocide against Uyghurs and other minority groups in Xinjiang. The law bans imported goods from Xinjiang into the U.S. due to being a product of forced labor. In the letters, the lawmakers wrote, continuing to import goods produced in part with the forced labor of Uyghurs potentially violates the UFLPA and creates the conditions in which the CCP is able to continue committing genocide. Gallagher said, using forced labor has been illegal for almost 100 years. But despite knowing that their industries are implicated, too many companies look the other way, hoping they don't get caught, rather than cleaning up their supply chains. This is unacceptable. The inquiries follow a congressional hearing from March, when an expert assessment found that U.S. companies finance state-sponsored forced labor programs in the Uyghur region. The Chinese government reportedly released Chinese citizen journalist Fang, who disappeared 3 years ago after covering the first ever COVID-19 outbreak in the world. Sources told the BBC that Fang was released on April 30th, 3 years after a secret trial in Wuhan declared him prison terms for documenting the outbreak in Wuhan in 2020 when the coronavirus first emerged. Zhang Zhan is another citizen reporter who was also imprisoned for pursuing information on the Wuhan outbreak. While sources said Fang was in good health, Zhang, on the other hand, was said to be in a life-threatening situation in 2021, and she has not been liberated. The BBC said Fang has returned to his home in Wuhan. He is remembered for posting footage of 8 body bags outside of a hospital that treated COVID-19 in early 2020. At the time, the public had little knowledge about the severity of the novel virus. Wuhan underwent a stringent lockdown, with house doors literally nailed to prevent residents from escaping outside. The Associated Press reported on April 30th that Fang was sentenced for picking quarrels and provoking trouble, the same charge against female reporter Zhang. While Fang was given a 3-year jail term, Zhang was sentenced to 4 years behind bars. Radio Free Asia said that Fang was kept at a correctional center in Wuhan's Jiangxia district. Fang and Zhang were among several others who were determined to go against efforts by the Chinese government to keep information sealed. Dr. Li Wenliang, who later died of COVID-19, also faced police harassment when he tried to raise alarm to the public during the early days of the pandemic. According to the BBC, the authorities later exonerated and honored Li as a hero to appease public anger. In an opinion article published on May 3rd, the Director General of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, or TECO, in San Francisco, Scott Lai, said that it is not easy for China's regime to invade Taiwan. Lai said that in retaliation for Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in early April, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, held a series of exercises to show it was ready to fight at any time and crush separatism activities and foreign interference. However, the TECO Director General pointed out that the CCP cannot dictate how Taiwan makes friends, and the force also cannot dictate how our friends internationally interact with Taiwan. Lai wrote in the article published in Deseret News that Taiwan has been actively working with the US to bolster its defense capabilities. Besides, the US's Arms Export Delivery Solutions Act is underway to work towards the speedy delivery of defense weapons from the US to Taiwan. He added that Taiwan appreciates countries that have spoken out in support of the island and against threats from China. These countries' disapproval of Beijing's military exercises has provided considerable impetus in preventing the power ruling China from taking more aggressive actions. Lai viewed that with the continued support of like-minded partners, Taiwan will be determined to maintain the status quo in the Taiwan Strait and peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Facing the increasing pressures of daily life, Chinese people, especially youngsters, tend to be partial towards temples and religious worship, hoping for their desires and goals to be fulfilled. South China Morning Post shared a story on May 4th about a young man taking a long-distance trip to the big Buddha statue, and then using a giant speaker to blast out his prayers to make sure the deity can hear and make his wishes come true. The man, surnamed Zhang, spent 12 hours at the weekend, traveling more than 1,200 miles from China's eastern Zhejiang province to southwestern Sichuan to the Leshan giant Buddha. This statue was carved from a cliff between 713 and 803 AD during the Tang dynasty. With a height of 71 meters, it is the highest stone Buddha statue in the world. In a video posted by Zhang in Douyin on April 25th, he is holding up a big AirPod-shaped speaker beside the ear of the big Buddha. He then cranks up the volume on his phone so that the deity can hear him better. Zhang said he purchased the giant speaker on an e-commerce platform since it was a good match with the Buddha. Zhang shouted, "Do you know, giant Buddha? I'm 27 years old, and I don't have a car, a house, or a girlfriend." He continued expressing his wishes. "Firstly, I want to be rich. I don't need much, and 10 million yuan, or $1.5 million, is enough." He added, "Most importantly, I want a girlfriend who is just a little bit pretty, tender, and loves me rather than my 10 million. According to Zhang, this decision comes after his string of bad luck due to Mercury in retrograde. Occurring 3 to 4 times a year, Mercury retrograde is an optical illusion caused by the realignment of planet Mercury, on which many people blame their woes. His outrageous and desperate prayer style has attracted many comments from netizens. One said, between relying on others and relying on himself, he chose to rely on the Buddha. Another asked, is it possible that since you placed the earphone to the wrong ear of the Buddha, he didn't hear your wishes?